Hi, I'm Sean Gannon, and this is Minute Math, and today we're learning about completing the square.
Minute Math, when you need help you use Minute Math.
We're given this problem right here, x squared plus 6x plus c, and we need to find the value of c that completes the square. I first have to look at my b value, which is 6. So the c value that we're looking for is equal to that b value, which is 6, divided by 2, all squared. Not too bad. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 3 squared, well, is 9. And so our c value here that completes the square is just 9. We're given this problem right here, z squared minus 10z plus c, and we need to find the c value that completes the square. Well, our c value here to complete the square, we look at our b value of negative 10. We use a formula, negative 10 divided by 2, all squared. Well, negative 10 divided by 2 is, well, a negative 5. And then when we square that, we get a positive 25. And so 25 is the c value that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, x squared minus 34x plus c, and we need to find the c value that completes the square. Our c value here has to equal our b value, negative 34, divided by 2, all squared. Well, let's keep going. Negative 34 divided by 2 is a negative 17. And when we square a negative 17, that's a positive 289. So 289 is the c value that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, r squared plus 32r plus c, and we need to find the c value that completes the square. My c value has to equal, well, my b value, which is 32, divided by 2, all squared. Well, 32 divided by 2 is 16. We still need to square the 16, and we have 256. So 256, if I can write the 6 here, is the c value that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, r squared minus 6r plus c, and we need to find the value of c that completes the square. Our formula says, well, that c value has to equal our b value, which is negative 6, divided by 2, all squared. Well, negative 6 divided by 2 is, well, a negative 3. When we square a negative 3, it turns into a positive 9. And so a positive 9 is the c value that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, r squared plus 20r plus c, and we need to find the value of c that completes the square. I first have to take my c here, and I'm using my formula. C is going to equal my b value, which is 20, divided by 2, all squared. Well, 20 divided by 2 is 10. And when we square 10, we get 100. Not too bad. 100 is the c value here that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, x squared minus 38x plus c, and we need to find the value of c that completes the square. Our formula tells us c needs to equal our, well, b value, negative 38, divided by 2, all squared. Well, negative 38 divided by 2 is a negative 19. And when we square a negative number, it becomes positive, and negative 19 squared is 361. And so 361 is the c value here that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, a squared plus 12a plus c, and we need to find the value of c that completes the square. Our journey takes us here with our formula. C is equal to our b value, which is 12, divided by 2, all squared. Well, 12 divided by 2 is just 6. And when we square 6, that's 36. And so 36 is the value of c that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, x squared minus 25 over 13x plus c, and we need to find the value of c that completes the square. So we start with our formula. C is equal to, we take our b value, negative 25 over 13, and we have to divide that by 2, and then we square that. Well, what does this really equal? Well, to see it better, negative 25 over 13 divided by 2 is the same thing as multiplying it by a 1/2. This simplifies here to be negative 25 over 26, and that's all squared. So when we square this, it's really squaring the numerator and squaring the denominator. The negatives cancel, and we get a 625 over 676. 26 squared is 676, and negative 25 squared is a positive 625. So our c value, 625 over 676, this is the c value that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, a squared minus 7a plus c, and we need to find the c value that completes the square. We use our formula. C is equal to our b value, negative 7, divided by 2, all squared. Well, really, negative 7 divided by 2 doesn't simplify anymore. So when we square this, 7 squared is 49, and 2 squared is a 4. Remember, the square can go to both parts of the fraction. The negative goes away because a negative number squared is a positive number. This fraction doesn't really simplify anymore, and so 49 over 4 is the c value that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, z squared plus 11 over 8z plus c, and we need to find the value of c that completes the square. Our formula tells us here that c is equal to our b value, 11 over 8, divided by 2, all squared. Well, if you're like me, dividing fractions is always a pain. This is the same thing as saying 11 over 8 times a 1/2 squared. Makes it a little easier. Well, that simplifies to be 11 over 8 times 2 is 16, all squared. So now when we square it, we can square the numerator and square the denominator individually. 11 squared is 121, and 16 squared is 256. And so 121 over 256 is the c value here that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, m squared plus 3m plus c, and we need to find the value of c that completes the square. Well, first thing, our formula says c is equal to our b value, which is 3, divided by 2, all squared. Well, 3/2 doesn't really simplify. So when we square that, we square the numerator and square the denominator. 3 squared is 9, and 2 squared, well, is 4. And so 9/4 is the c value here that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, m squared plus 40m plus c, and we need to find the value of c that completes the square. Our formula here says that c has to equal our b value, which is 40, divided by 2, all squared. Well, 40 divided by 2, well, that's just 20. And when we square 20, we get 400. And so 400 is the c value here that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, x squared plus 13x plus c, and we need to find the c value here that completes the square. Our formula tells us that c is equal to our b value, which is 13, right here, divided by 2, all squared. Well, 13 divided by 2 doesn't simplify anymore. So when we square this, we can square the numerator and denominator individually. 13 squared is 169, and well, 2 squared is 4. This fraction doesn't simplify anymore, so 169 over 4 is the value of c that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, x squared minus x plus c, and we need to find the value of c here that completes the square. Well, our formula is c is equal to our b value, which is the coefficient in front of x here, which is a negative 1, divided by 2, all squared. Well, What is negative 1/2 squared? We square the numerator and square the denominator. Negative 1 squared is a positive 1, while 2 squared is a 4. And that's really it. Make sure you know it's positive, but 1 over 4 is the value of c that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, n squared minus 1/2 n plus c, and we have to find the value of c that completes the square. Well, c is equal to, with our formula, our b value, which is a negative 1/2, divided by 2, all squared. Now, if you're like me, dividing with fractions is kind of a pain. Well, dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. So this is negative 1/2 times, well, 1/2, all squared. Now that's a little easier to see. This comes out to be, well, a negative 1 over 2 times 2 is 4 squared. When we square fractions, we can square the numerator and the denominator individually. Negative 1 squared is a positive 1. 4 squared, 16. And so 1 over 16 is the value of c here that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, a squared minus 8a plus c, and we need to find the value of c that completes the square. So my formula tells me that my c value is equal to my b value, negative 8, divided by 2, all squared. Well, negative 8 divided by 2 is a negative 4. And when we square a negative 4, it becomes a positive, and it's a positive, well, 16. And so 16 is the value of c that completes the square. We're given this problem right here, x squared plus 7 over 13x plus c, and we need to find the value of c that completes the square. Our formula tells us that c is equal to our b value, which is 7 over 13, divided by 2, all squared. Well, if you're like me, dividing with fractions is always a pain. So I can rewrite this to be 7 over 13, instead of dividing by 2, multiply by 1/2. And that makes it a little easier to see. Multiplying fractions, we multiply across the numerator, so 7 times 1 is 7, and 13 times 2 is 26. Don't forget to square the whole thing. Now, when we square fractions, we can square the numerator and denominator individually. 7 squared is 49, and 26 squared, which you might have off the top of your head, I don't, is 676. And so 49 over 676 is the value of c that completes the square. I hope this video was helpful for you, and if it was, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and like this video. This helps us make more free math lessons for you and for everyone else. So as always, thanks for watching.
Minute Math. When you need help, you use Minute Math.